EUTWMPPM. It's a playbook play for going mini viral with literally no risk, with immediate venture capital as an option, not as a force, but as an option, because you're raising the stock price of You Incorporated, which is Kimberly Palmer's book, which I also read, which is about building stock in yourself. Scary shit, right? Right? And so you both initially get the attention of women, and you get women sharing the podcast, and then you'll get some women mad, but then some women will defend and be like, he's got a lot of really good points, because there are no attack surfaces, because this has been vetted, and when people attack it, like, I'm ready for not even a counter attack, but a counter argument that's a reminder of stuff that Sheryl Sandberg mentored us all to do. I love that. I love that. I love that. It's a ledge. Exactly. It's exactly a ledge. Go on. Wayne Dwyer. Right? And like the work that you do in the framework where what you do helps you edit a piece of startup, where you're facilitating a framework, and you and Nick are making money while you make money. You're not just hoping to go into debt to do better. Like, you're pushing ahead, and that's why the 0 to 600K thing is on point, because it also applies to you guys with getting super comfortable being in the money, and then maybe exploring your guys' own venture capital firm, or your guys' effort to sell stock high and buy it low. Right? And this is like, these are all the, not playbook plays, but the roadmap of Silicon Valley that's now in Austin, where do you need to wait to be a venture capitalist? I mean, you could speak to that because you didn't wait to be a VC. And then all these models from AngelList, like, they're all changing. This is the first podcast in how to get you incorporated up and going. How to get from 0 to 600K, because once you're at 600K, you're all momentum, you're all flow. Whereas a lot of people, they get stuck and I mean almost constipated on stuck on 0, where half, definitely a third, maybe 2/3 of Y Combinator companies never get revenue dollar number 1, and they just die. And so this is just avoiding personal bankruptcy, avoiding personal failure. Right? What day do you want to do this? And do you want to do this in a rooftop room with jaw-dropping views of Austin? What do you want to do it live, or do you want to do it over the phone? You know what? Let's just do it at Capital Factory, so that we have the muscle memory, and then you can use like one of a half a dozen venues that I know about. Nick also knows of a ton of venues, but Nick knows everybody, which is yeah. Because you think that he's too distracted, or what do you mean unplugged? Oh, where you spread too thin? Yeah. That happens. Where you can't even look what? But look at him yesterday. Nick was much more present. I have permission from you to be honest with you, right? Nick was much more present than you were. Yeah. So it's a daily exercise to try to be focused. But Nick was incredibly centered, and maybe it's because we haven't talked to him forever. Where he's like, I can't believe Larry actually does real shit, and oh my god, I forgot all the real shit that I did with Larry, because the lens, which is what you're talking about, which is being hyper-focus, of 0 to 0.6, he's like, oh, ding, that's my UTU, ding, that was Peter Thiel's Stanford Law Review, ding, that was Larry's, hobby, which is going 0 to 0.6. Right? It's Saturday morning. Exactly. It's Saturday morning. Right. But yeah, let's just do it at Capital Factory. What day do you want to do it? Okay. Let's sit down at 2:45 at Capital Factory on Tuesday and do some pre-show things. But basically the focus is incredibly specific of problem. 0 to 1 billion is incredibly intimidating. Solution. Little things that we can do in a march forward, zero risk type of way to get to 600K. Right? Let me try for 2:30, but I'll definitely be there at 2:45. 2 might be a stretch because my Tuesday's slammed, but Let me reshuffle. Yeah. Huh. Wait, what? What'd you say? Nice. Smart. Smart. Nice. Yeah. And then also I could help you outline it. In fact, let's outline it right now, so that way in case 2:30, becomes 3:05, which it won't, we can be productive now. Right now. And so the segmentation, so you don't want to blow people's minds the way that I literally blew Arturo's mind, Saturday eating a breakfast taco while he's pitching Nitro OJ, which is genius, by the way. It's cool. And then he should take that experience, learn software, and sling orange juice APIs. Because last time I checked, selling a can of orange juice for $80 is possible, but selling an API for $81 without having to ship FedEx, okay, is even better, because you're using electricity. The orange juice API. My God, that was a joke, but it's actually hilarious. Yeah. Ew. No, it is. It is. And then that play is a stock pump and dump, whereas you could do a stock pump and dump as your third or fourth stock pump and dump. But initially, you're going to need to sell $600K worth of real shit before you literally 3D print a steak, because that isn't anybody's first deal. Like, that's somebody's fifth deal. Like, first deal goes to the moon, second deal goes bankrupt, third deal goes to the moon, and then the venture capitalists are not in on the second deal, like the whole pattern recognition. So steaks printed, okay, that sounds like a fifth or fourth deal. So roll the dice, right? I know, right? Yeah. That's almost rare. That they hit a 3-time success, 3 in a row. They hit failure number 2 because their dad had failed in like 3, 4, or 5. So their second failure lasted like 2 months. Like me dating a Victoria's Secret model and then getting broken up with. Like, that wasn't even on the chart. And then 5 years later, you're like, yeah, Chang, you really dated a Victoria's Secret model? You're like, that was actually failure number 2 that now is a success because now you're on fire, but then it turns out that was actually your failure. That's why the LinkedIn bio should say Google me, or look at my repository of code on GitHub, or look at my repository of how to go from 0 to 0.6 over on Twitter, hashtag 0 ZEROPT 6 0.6. Yep. Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, no. That's actually in my bankruptcy algorithm, which is the words themselves are 7%, 35% is tonality, and then 55% is physiology. So if you're actually auditory deficient, what you're talking about, now your other 93% can be heightened. How well do you read? Oh wait, before I ask that question, uh, with you looking up LinkedIn, Chris Sacca, the legendary venture capital investor who used to be at Google, yeah, he reads the last 50 tweets. He will look at your last 50 tweets to see where your trajectory is. Yeah, yeah. And so when you're pattern recognizing, second thing's a failure, first thing's a hit, that's another, what my mentor, chapter 4, networking, and then character compassing, and then guessing at a person's trajectory. What were you saying with how well you read? Okay, that's what you want to do. No, and that's what I actually wrote down, I swear, on a piece of paper. PQRST, which is preview, question, read, summarize, test, which is what you do when you said, what did you say? I can predict what people are going to say. Right. But the framework to bring you from unconscious competent to conscious competent is PQRST, preview, question, read, summarize, test. That allows you to predict the market. It allows you to predict a conversation. It allows you to predict entrepreneurship success. It allows Tom Brady and Larry Chang to predict like a blitz read, which is why he'll say PQRST language during post-game pressers by saying, look, kids, we have all the answers to the test now. We've taken the worst punch, now we're ready. And that's the PQRST component of a conversation. It also makes it cheesy humorous, where I know where the person's gonna push back on $0.6 million because everybody wants to make $1 billion. But last time I checked, mathematically, everybody has to pass through $600,000 of net worth from 0 to 1 billion. So there's humor involved because you're predicting where people are, and then you slightly twist it or you make it more common sense, like boiled down to the sugar water syrup that people need. Yeah. Oh. What's our Oscar component to getting this podcast, like an Emmy? Like, what's the attention getting thing from 0 to 0.6? Okay. 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 Wait, Nick, what? This is where Nick got this from, because Nick watched himself do the first 6,000, and then Nick watched 50% of the people fail, even though I was the one pushing people to $6,000, and Nick's brain was getting blown up, because who you don't know about is Jacob Cole, co-founder of MIT Entrepreneurship Week. He was the only non-participant when we were selling $10 slices of pizza. He was the only non-participant, and later he became a participant and he didn't make any money. And then Nick goes, Larry, do you think Jacob's gonna be pissed that he didn't make any money? I'm like, Nick, this is how life works. When you get on the train late, you wanna be a part of the train, but you don't get paid. And he's like, oh my God. And Jacob went to MIT. And actually Jacob's in that whole Palo Alto crew. And those guys actually met at a Flipboard party in 2011 with Devin Fenzer and the golden child that we're friends with, Dylan Fields. Yeah, Jacob Cole. Like he's, yeah. That's your attention getter, and your getting on the train is Alexis Ohanian thinks it's smart. What is the WIFM? What's in it for me for your podcast listener to make this podcast the most valuable podcast that they've heard ever? Like, what is that attention getter? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so what is that one thing? Okay. Should we should we should we have the attention getter of, and you're risking it because a lot of people don't know who Peter Thiel is what Peter Thiel won't teach you about his entrepreneurship, because then you could get an Alexis Ohanian to be like, oh, slam, because Peter's sort of at the top, but he doesn't execute well, and you can't directly slam him, but then you can promote Grant and Larry, revealing how Peter Thiel really did it, but then hid. But then you're risking the audience going, who the fuck is Peter Thiel? Because actually a lot of people don't know who Peter Thiel is. Okay. Because then, what? Wait, what? How about what Peter Thiel won't teach you about his entrepreneurship journey? Because then you could get other thought leaders to be like, yeah, because Peter doesn't necessarily play ball, and there is a subculture of people that know when Peter's ahead and know when Peter drops the ball. And this is actually middle ground, completely can't argue with the fact that Peter had to go through 600K to get to $1 billion. And so while the title is scandalous, everything about what you and I will talk about in the podcast is fundamental. Huh. Exactly. But Peter Thiel's like a stake, a flag in the ground of the elite who won't explain to you how they did it, where they're telling you to go 0 to 1, they're telling you to drop out of college. But what did Peter Thiel do? He made money, stayed in undergrad. He made money at Stanford Law School, not only stayed in law school, but worked 1 year as a lawyer. So shouldn't you be doing similar things while you moonlight? And you shouldn't necessarily buy the hook of drop out of college, and then that plays to undergrads, because undergrads at Longhorn Startup, they're going to be like, should I just drop out after my company makes $2 million? And then did Josh Baer drop out? So this dovetails perfectly with fundamental truths of, should I stay in college? Well, actually, you should stay in college. You should play baseball. You should also start a business, and then you should hope that business gets momentum by looking at these protocols. Ooh, I really like that. Yeah. Yeah. Pe- who said this? Peter Thiel, you mean? Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Exactly. And I never tell people to drop out of school, because I did exactly Peter Thiel's shit, except his 7 years of education was my 3 years of engineering school before I graduated, and his Stanford Law Review is my Duck 9. And his 1 year at a top law firm was my 2 years at a Fortune 50 company while I ran Duck 9. So I had a multi-million dollar business while I worked at a Fortune 50, because my parents were Chinese and they're like, you should probably just get a regular job because being a millionaire is just weird. It's hilarious. And then one of the guys, and then I played baseball when my Fortune 50 job was like under control, Duck 9, it was in the summer, and I was playing baseball with this guy named Monty, and Monty goes, my dad works at Nalco. I think he's your boss's boss. And I was playing baseball, like not full time, but like semi part-time, semi-pro baseball player. And then that's when you get your shit under control, and you're like, look, I need to quit baseball to like focus on, one of your moonlighting things. But then if I don't, and this is actually, when you say moonlighting, I've taken moonlighting of 0 to 0.6 for Stanford baseball players who used to not get drafted high because they had an engineering degree and they would quit minor league baseball after 6 years, right? You don't go pro in like 3 years. Some do, but mostly it takes, 4 to 7, 4 to 8. Now Stanford baseball players never have to quit because they study computer science, and then on a part-time moonlighting job, they can make $300K. And now they're going to get drafted higher, which is the whole point of playing D1 baseball at Stanford or Texas, wherever wants to, you can, and that's why this thing for moonlighting to 0 to 0.6 is useful at Texas, because all this shit is free at Stanford. Is this blowing your mind right now? It's 1/3 of the baseball team talks about Peter Thiel's hashtag CS183, okay, Peter Thiel, bullpen, which is, pitchers and catchers. And so CS183 bullpen is about how to get 600K. I'm like, let's be millionaires and let's just be semi-pro baseball players, okay, for 2 to 20 years. And then people laugh because it's embarrassing playing ball when you're 40, but I'm not friends with Tom Brady, but he knows my name and I know his name, and he's still playing ball and he moonlights. So as a minor league, what? It's super valuable. Right? Completely. And that's the thing that's also counterintuitive for undergrads, is letting your name be leaked out. When you're trying to go to 600K, your real name is going to get leaked out. And then the number one objection that I get is, I don't want to be known for selling resurfaced Ohanian shoes. I don't want to be known for selling Braun power cords. I don't want to be known as the TechCrunch video bitch, okay? Or the blogger, okay? But it turns out nobody remembers how you got to 600K. They just remember how you got to be a millionaire, or 0 to 1. Yep, but then that keeps people at 0. It keeps people at 0. Or perfect legacy. It's really perfect legacy. It's right. What? People just want to stand at the finish line and then bang the winners. Nobody remembers your time on the first mile, or the fact that you used to, not even do track. Like, people just look at the finish line. They just look at milestone finish lines. Like, they don't know how you got to 600K. And once you get to 600K, it's all flow, because then your student debt isn't hanging over your head. Then you don't have a car payment. Then if you do rent, okay, you prepaid 5 years. You prepaid 50 years of rent, versus everyone getting stressed about owning, which could lead to bankruptcy and foreclosure, which is lecture 11, Stram GT 353, which is how banks own 90% of everything, is due to collateral and default. Is this shit crazy or what? Because we can help people have a soundbite, tweetable thing where they're going to be like, oh my God, this actually answers. Because all I do is deal with undergrads, okay, or young people, and young people, they were groomed and harvested and matriculated all in the same way, where I know what objections people have. It's like coaching baseball camp. Like, I know that after a ground ball hits you in the face, you're going to come up a little fast. And so I'm just watching for it. And then the test is, will you get hit in the face again? Oh, the ball stayed down. And that's how you get to 600K, actually kind of easily. Right? Huh. They're miserable. They're miserable. But then the old dude decided to play the game versus watch the game. And that's the journey. And then the thing that you're talking about with like 5% auditory, 38% kinesthetic, 55% physiology, the journey portion of it is called pain, pleasure, juxtaposition, where if you want to get to 600K, do you like how well focused I am? If you want to get, it's crazy. When you get to, and that's why I'm both a great interview and a horrible interview, because I will listen, take notes, and pain, pleasure, juxtaposition. Like, you talk about the journey and people kind of getting pissed off that they got to a billionaire. Well, then people have the pain, pleasure, juxtaposition, which makes people seem crazy of, why do you want to live in the window of 0 to 600K, Larry Chang? Like, if you're a billionaire, okay, why are you even at UT's football game? Shouldn't you be in Monaco? Shouldn't you even be in a beach in Hawaii? Shouldn't you even be in Miami Beach? Well, I mean, I actually am in Miami Beach, but like, is Monaco even very good? And what was the other thing? Like, Hawaii, like, are dogs free there? Are people free there? Isn't that the most, like, second most bad island next to Puerto Rico, with politicians like being kind of crooked, whereas the Republic of Texas, pretty free. I can drive anywhere, won't flood, and relatively fun. And music festivals I don't got to fly to, although sometimes they don't execute very well, but better luck next time, right? Orchestra yesterday was actually average because they were kind of not out of tune, okay, pun intended, but they're kind of out of step with like having to perform with people and having to like bond with people. So a lot of people are like, oh, I've been eating salt for 2 years. Like, this quarter cup of water is actually delicious. Whereas I've been interacting with people this whole time. And like yesterday's orchestra performance, it wasn't great. At the Long Center, it wasn't great. They forgot that the audience, like, you can lose the audience, and I was in the audience. I got lost. But the pain pleasure juxtaposition of the journey, like, let people's journey start by realizing that your pain and your pleasure are going to temporarily need to be rewired. Like, it's awkward, which is point number next, which is paste copying somebody else's work. So when I say paste copying somebody else's work, how does that emotionally make you feel? It makes you feel weird because you're in school and you shouldn't steal other people's work. But in my world, the billionaire world, okay, do you like how there's obfuscation between billionaire or millionaire? In that world, if you paste copy, what? It's, yeah. Paste copying with a citation in bold. So paste copying with citation is a bibliography where, thank you for helping me learn about what they don't teach you at Harvard Business School. I will now write what they don't teach you at Stanford Business School. Peter Thiel did the Stanford Law Review, whereas he read the Harvard Law Review, and they're like, hey, this would be great if we could do a law review at Stanford. And that was his first hit. His first hit couldn't miss. And everybody knew that he ripped it right from Harvard Law Review with citation because he would write rebuffs, counterpoints, debriefs, rebriefs of Harvard positions. And so, branded at Stanford Law, now you're a special law school student who's semi-entrepreneurial, who then, if you were to be in a time warp, you would have read the HLS, the Harvard Law School keynote summary called What They Don't Teach You at Stanford Business School, which is, as a Harvard Law alum, you need to go sell clients and be a rainmaker the way that name partners sometimes don't go to the best law schools, but are really good rainmakers. Right? And crossover, and that crossover of you're a good technician and you're a good salesperson. You're a good engineer and you're a good distributor. And then that's maybe the next component, which is, the last one was paste copying with citation. The other one is dabble and try sales. Because there's a reason that 80% of Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, Fortune 50 CEOs, 80% have sales experience, because sales is the dirty skill. Oh, right out of Paul Graham. Do things that don't scale but have momentum. The Collison brothers install is slam selling, face-to-face, belly button to belly button, where we open up your laptop and we help you download the web app, where we hand you a slice of pizza in order for you to give us your phone so that we can download an app. Or if that's too aggressive, us handing you a lollipop and then you giving us your cell phone number so that way we give you in-app functionality prior to downloading an app. That's what Peter Thiel did too. How many people actually bought a Palm Pilot to beam money by and between people? No. So there's this hashtag called CS183 app DL, app download, because there's app fatigue. And the way that Peter combated it before apps were even done is he would grab an email address and do email address to email address swaps. Well, actually, Peter didn't do it. It was me and Luke Nosik would do email to email money swaps without having to buy a Palm Pilot. Because before the App Store, you'd have to buy a new device for single device functionality of near field communication, beaming money, buying between Palm Pilots. A Palm Pilot is an iPhone precursor. It's like a BlackBerry, but like, what? Peter died when Peter's trying to go 0 to 1. And until two dudes from the University of Illinois were like, hey, let's try to do email swappage and let's hide the to and from transfer in a Microsoft Word doc that we would attach, like the Palm Pilot beaming of money. Going 0 to 1 billion was landing Peter Thiel firmly at 0. So not getting to 600K in PayPal revenue would have killed Confinity. This is, I want to say, a year or two before Elon offered a merger with his domain called x.com. And I laugh because, he's a good salesman. Anytime your only added value is a one-letter URL with a merger, like, that's just genius sales. He's a legend. And then the future podcast is what Elon Musk can teach us all about getting fired from two of our friends, Max Levchin and Peter Thiel, while we're on a work vacation to Omaha to sign up a debit card processing center. And we come back, our two friends, Peter Thiel and Max Levchin, fire us. And then we say, oh, are you screwing me out of my equity? Well, we're still friends. Don't fuck me too hard. ... That's how to get fired. That's how he got fired. That's a different podcast. Am I just an encyclopedic, bibliographed movieography whore? Because all this shit checks out scarily. Where if it, and do you see how who's that guy? Alexis Ohanian. Do you see how he's gonna want to be like, oh my God, is that how that worked? And then he's gonna be like, oh my God, I've met Larry Chang. Like, I don't know how old he is. Is he Peter's mentor? Like, what the F? Like, because, nobody's hiding anymore, right? And so that's a great spin-out episode for once you've gotten to $30 million, if your friends fire you, that's a way to make $4 billion later. Be like, hey, you want to get on my deal? Are you going to fuck me again like you did when I came back from Omaha? Well, I'm going to need some deal sweeteners before this Founders Fund money comes into SpaceX, okay? You're not going to be able to fire me again. And then it's funny because there's just like, oh man, like screwing them out of like $2 million is going to cost us $3 billion. Oh, well. Do you know about the Founders Fund SpaceX deal? Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a sweet deal, but then Founders Fund is like, well, at least we beat Sequoia. That's my one LinkedIn contact is our friend Roloff Botha. All of our friends Roloff Botha, because Roloff was going to wedge in to SpaceX before Founders Fund. And so Founders Fund was like, fuck, we'll just sign up for the Elon Musk deal, even though we can't fire you because we just fired you. Sort of. Oh, that they would lose that deal even if they lived in the same building as that guy. They wouldn't just leave. They're just pissed anyway. I mean, they could be, the world is global, so they're not here to escape embarrassment, which is a different podcast, which is actually on point. Oh my God. Both, it's a next podcast and back on point, which is a hashtag called CS183VC. How do we as young Peter Thiels become a VC? I actually have 20 lectures loaded up because all I get asked is, hey, you sound like you're a great VC. I want to be a VC. How should I be a VC? I'm like, have you sold 600K worth of shiitake yet? Because a VC, he can sell or she can sell 600K in a week. And this is why we're back on track to the 20 free lectures. And all a VC is a biz dev guy who doesn't work for you. It's a sales executive and she doesn't work for you. She's an investor. And this is gonna blow your mind because of this phrase. Grab a pen, non-employee co-founder. Non-employee, what? Oh, I'm glad, but this is 10 to 40 years before Techstars thought about ripping it, because I actually have a hashtag called non-employee co-founders, in which case I am a non-employee co-founder of Founders Fund, because I was arguing to call it Fund of Founders, because Founders Fund means no LPs, right? It's a founders fund. Like, that's not LPs. I want a fund of founders, which is chock full of LPs. And they didn't go for it, but I registered the URL on the backside, which is Fund of Founders, with a real fund, but set that aside. All a VC does is tech sales. And so she goes into selling, and she's gonna boost the stock price before she buys in. Let me repeat that. She will buy stock at a higher price because she's helping you do sales. Can you pick up the free $30,000? Or as Nick Spiller says, can you pick up the $6,000? Or what I told Nick, can you pick up the 16 bucks in coffee that turns into $2,000 in sales? Coffee for sales, lollipops for leads, slices of pizza for app downloads. Priming the pump of, can you be capital efficient with this money that I lend you, give you, so that way you'll be capital efficient with my LP's money, my limited partners' money that I give to you. Because all the risk, it kind of needs to be vetted, or at least have a shot at making that money. That's what non-employee co-founder is, which is a co-founder who's a venture capitalist who gives you ideas and gives you free money and just needs for you to show up at 245 at Capital Factory, just needs for you to show up at South by Southwest one day prior. Can you catch a flight? Can you, Larry Chang, make it to New York Fashion Week for your runway appearance? Can you make it to Austin Fashion Week, which is exactly 3 months prior to February New York Fashion Week? Can you make it to Austin Fashion Week wardrobed, not hungover, ready to perform? And that's non-employee co-founder, which you get if you get to 600K. Like, if you're an engineer at Longhorn Startup and you get $300 worth of eBay sales attached to your name, what happens when I Google your full name? I need to see that you can do some basic customer service. And if you can do basic customer service or let your customer yell at you, you're ready to be a software developer at the SaaS $300 million level. Just listen to customers. Hey, we need this. No matter how stupid it sounds, we need it, and we need it now. Non-employee co-founder. Steve Jurvetson with the Tesla with Elon Musk, because he got beat out by Founders Fund, and so he ended up wedging into Tesla super early. And then Steve Jurvetson and Elon Musk and Larry Chang, those are 3 car salesmen. Granted, we all have engineering degrees, and I won more awards than they did, but they've surpassed me lately. But all 3 dudes, Steve Jurvetson, Elon Musk, Larry Chang, we all sold cars before we locked in an engineering degree. And just because you're good at engineering does not let you outsource sales, which is the next point. Oh my God, you can't outsource banging. People try to do that all the time. Naval Ravikant talks about just do the value portion of it and don't outsource your core. And people try to outsource. It was his last tweet, actually. You can't outsource selling. And Naval talks about in his blog series, How to Get Rich, which is you got to do the engineering and you got to do the sales. Ooh, goosebumps. True. And also, yeah, exactly. And Steve Blank actually wrote an article, which is bit.ly, B-I-T. Am I just an obnoxious student athlete at this? Steve Blank, bit.ly, bit.ly, B-I-T. Thank you for the compliment. S blank, as in Steve Blank, S blank 710. bit.ly/S blank, S is in Steve, blank, B is in boy, L-A-N-K. Professor Steve Blank, Stanford Engineering. He taught engineering 145, he taught engineering 245, he taught at Cal, he taught at Columbia. S blank 711, 712, 713, all S blank 7171 series. So it's S blank 713. The reason I bring these things up is, bless you, the reason I bring these things up is he came up with this thing which he has not solved, but I solved for him in a Harvard Business School blog post called Startup Death Spiral. Is when you outsource selling, and it identifies the problem, which is S blank 710, and then the solution, which is he trickles it out, and it turns out at the end he doesn't give you the last component. He's been stuck on this for 8 years. It's called Startup Death Spiral, where you can't. It goes to your point. When they try to hire salespeople, it doesn't work. It's called Startup Death Spiral, and I solved it. And then Steve Blank, I solved it in Harvard Law School's blog. And Steve Blank still hasn't addressed that one thing. Why? Because sales is so painful to recommend to engineers to do. And I know I hammer that point home with memorizing 5 bit.ly links from 710 to 714. Does that make sense? So it's a nomenclature of bit.ly. They're easy. And so when people say hire salespeople, I just send them 5 blog posts on Startup Death Spiral. Which stage are you in? Oh, we've already fired 2. Oh, we're almost going to fire our first. Well, if you're thinking about fire first, that's 711. if you're thinking about firing your second, that's 713. And then the conclusion, if you have enough bankruptcy time left, which is why we sold PlanCast, me, Nick Spiller, Johnny Van, and 12 other undergrads from across the United States. We sold PlanCast doing the solution to this, which is we should sell PlanCast. We should sell the functionality and focus. Is this not crazy? Because now you see, oh, I heard Larry Chang helped Peter Thiel, or I heard that he was somehow in the PayPal mafia, but I didn't see his picture at Fortune magazine between Jeremy Stoppelman and Russ. Okay, Russ Simmons. I didn't see his picture there, so I'm not going to do any of the sales work, is basically the conclusion that people come to. And I'm like, what about when me, Kenny Howery, and Luke Nosek sold Yelp shit at ACL in 2006 with like literally 600 pictures, because this is when Facebook was first up and going and it was allowing non-students on. So as soon as non-students on, I'm like, Facebook needs content. I will load up 600 pictures of ACL. That's us being VCs pumping the Yelp price up so that way it doesn't go bankrupt. And then when the price goes up, then VCs buy that stock. How hilarious is that? What we did was we used it for deal flow because women loved the Zagat review, but women writing reviews that are cute and want to go to parties. And so we weren't arbitraging stock, although I think later Kenny and Luke bought Yelp stock via whatever mechanisms. But we all just wanted to go to parties, and we wanted to practice going from 0 to 600K. Is it not scary how I go right back onto it? And there's this Yelp guy, his name is Kevin Newsom, and he was credited as one of the first cities outside of Boston and San Francisco to actually get Yelp traction. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Like, we host 3 parties a week, fill them with 50 to 500 women, okay? And then they all write Yelp reviews. I mean, yeah, a city's eventually going to be successful when you, like, give people a plate of fries with aioli to encourage them to sign up for a Yelp account. Or come to my music party at Pangea, which those guys actually bought a club. They're like, you know what? We're tired of paying all these venue fees. We could just save money by buying like a $2 million club. Larry, are you with us? I was like, you guys are going to buy a club? We can rent a club. You're going to buy a club? They're like, yeah, buy in. I'm like, no. The fastest way multimillionaires become less multimillionaires is by investing in a restaurant or a nightclub. Right out of the Peter Thiel, Mark McCormick book of Don't Buy a Restaurant. Or a nightclub is worse. At least with a restaurant you get takeout. Oh, and the liability for when people have sex, like on the sofa. You need a spray hose. Before you're like, woo, people are having sex. Now it's like, when you own it, you're like, ooh, everyone turn off. Let's jam the radio signal so that way nobody can upload video, using their Nokia 579249. Is that not crazy? And so, did we get any stock? No, but like the entertainment value of Kevin Newsom having to fly all over America, basically saying, Larry Chang, Luke Nosek, and Kenny Howery, they just host a crap ton of parties during ACL and South by, and then now we got to fly those guys and all 19 of their female friends from the Bay Area to Austin twice a year for ACL and South by, which is how Jacqueline Hughes started Austin Startup Week. is when ACL forked. So when ACL forked, we're like, hey, let's wedge in a startup week, and then they're like, well, what should we call it? And at the time, I was going to Austin Stone Worship, and so I'm like, let's just call it Austin Startup Week. And then I made that this is back when hashtags mattered. I made that hashtag, our church hashtag, explode, and people were like, wow, you really made our church hashtag explode. And some of the content's like, a little too money motivated, but we'll take it. Because get it, Austin Stone Worship and Austin Startup Week have the same hashtag. And I laughed. Because it's literally, that's flow. Is when you're literally doing one thing. Jacqueline Hughes, Josh Bear, Larry Chang, Austin Startup Week, Austin Stone Worship. Like, it's funny. Right? And then some people are kind of embarrassed because they're like, ooh, Larry posted a video of an underage girl in a bikini. I don't know if I want to be associated with that. He seems like a Me Too concept, the Me Too thing, and ooh, that's in Thailand. Yeah, hello? Is that on Facebook? That's my Auntie Stella, you creepy mother scratchers. She's 40. She's 50. She might be 55. Underage women. She's 55. Is that not hilarious? I baited everybody into that. They're just helpful. And I just saw Jacqueline Hughes, and I hugged her at that brewery party during her last Austin Stone Worship, because full circle, okay? She's now at Kaufman Fellows, the venture capital firm Ewing Kaufman Fellows. Yeah, she's head of global events, and I've been involved in Kaufman Fellows for like 10 plus years, and they were super helpful because they're just like, oh my God, if there's a next new thing in venture capital, it's whatever Larry Chang is doing. And now Jacqueline Hughes is head of it, where she came to my party in 2013. It's still on the internet. The Kaufman Center for Venture Education's reverse VC party at Roy's in Austin. It's right next to Paul Fleming's, right across from the convention center. It's now rebranded as a seafood restaurant. It's right next to Paul Fleming's. It's right next to the convention center. It's right across from Fogo. Yes, that used to be the #1 sushi restaurant called Roy's, and people would pay $350 for dinner and be like, "Oh, at least I'm automatically gonna hook up," because it was the spot. And reverse VC was like just so profitable because I zeroed out every event. I'm not going to take a tax event at 90% tax rate just because I'm hosting a party and fundraising. So if I fundraise $19,000, I'm going to spend it all. But I'm also not going to buy you alcohol because undergrads are coming. So we had some of the best food, and we had leftover food, so I bought gift certificates to give to people. No, it's not awesome because people couldn't execute on the gift certificate, and they wrote me a crappy Quora on how I'm a bad South by attendee. I'm like, you couldn't pick up the gift certificate at my hotel at the concierge, okay? And you're gonna yell at me because you're intimidated to be like, hey, my name's Larry Chang, I'm here to pick up a gift certificate that Larry Chang left for me. And I need to walk that gift certificate into your hand at South by? No, I put a dead drop with security behind it. Anyway, I'm actually still mad about that. It's the stories on Quora, like about how I told somebody I'd give them like dinner and I didn't show up. I'm like, I gave you gift certificates to dinner. I'm not going to give you gift certificates and then line up a time and spend 2.5 hours eating with you. I don't even eat dinner. It's South by. You grab something, you literally grab food. You don't sit for dinner. losers sit for dinner. Like, people just network and run around. Oh, which we're back to 600K. If you go to a conference and you're trying to get your first 30K or 90K, you don't stay with friends, you don't visit friends, you don't do anything with your friends. You're there for the money in Atlanta, November 2 to 4. You're there at New York Fashion Week launching your laptop web API from the runway. You are focused from February 12 to February 24, New York Fashion Week. You don't visit your friends, you don't stay with your friends, you stay at the Empire Hotel right across the street from Lincoln Center. You don't stay at an Airbnb to save $15. You sleep on the front lines of revenue. Because if you get away from the front lines of revenue, you're going to lose revenue. If people can't find you, like putting your hotel room out there, like Larry Chang, room 535, Four Seasons, if you Google that, it's funny as fuck. Because I let people not only come to my room, if you give me your name, I'll put your name under the room key. Granted, I didn't sleep in 535. That's an idiot move. I slept in like 537, the room across the hall. And so that's a permanent pop-up. And then the Waterloo room on the ground floor. So every hotel has a front line of revenue. Meeting at the convention center's okay, but the Four Seasons is right next door to the convention center. Why not meet in the Waterloo room? You have a 6-hour window to like come in, land, and then that's how to win. That's how to win a trade show. And Steve Blank actually has a blog post about how to win at a trade show where he doesn't exactly win. And so I rewrote that blog post for him with Oren Michaels, O-R-E-N Michaels, because he would trade show at South by until he sold his company for $800 million because he had 7 successful trade shows called Circus Maximus. It was a mastery API. So all you're doing is just run an API. His company, Mastery, is running an API where South by was one of the APIs. So he would buy convention space and he would just win South by every year with the Mastery API. And he would win every conference. He would win literally every conference. And him and Josh from First Round VC and me, Larry Chang, would win Web 2 Summit back when if you could win a tech conference like TechCrunch, you would win a Miller for. It turns out now winning a tech conference gets you even more money and it's even easier. That's how to get 600K, is you run an API to a conference. And then people are like, oh, this only works for the tech industry. This doesn't work in middle America. How about New York Fashion Week? How about the Cincinnati Manufacturers Association meeting in Canton, Ohio? How about, airport plumbers that have to do plumbing at high pressure altitude? Whatever basic industry conference, you can go win if you've got a software solution for PSI determinations on a dashboard with Boyle's gas law adherence, whatever basic stuff you're doing in engineering, and they're having to talk about it at a conference. American Association of Auditors, the National Association of Attorneys General that now have to scrape, online docs, from PDF files, just basic stuff they're going to be talking about at a convention. And so if you've got something that they should be talking about, you can make money. And if you've got a solution that solves problems, you can make a couple $100,000. I'm not going to say you can make a couple $100 million the way that all me and my stupid little friends do, but definitely a couple $100,000. And then if you don't fall into a hole of putty or dick where you're just so enamored with being a 0.2 million millionaire, trust me, that happens, and you keep on making money. Like, there are people who bang too much at South by because they win day 1, they win day 2, and then they're like, oh, I'm down for the count. all these women want to get with me, all these dudes want to get with me. It's mostly dudes, actually. All these women want to finally get with me. Because when you give a woman money, she doesn't be like, oh, great, I can go get some more dick. But it's totally true. It's totally true. That's just like Premal Shah Kiva, okay? When you donate money to a woman, she builds a community. When you donate money to a man, they try to get more vagina. And so South by Day 1, you're winning it. You're killing it, okay? You're on CNBC, you're on CNN because I line up those interviews at Max's Wine Dive, okay? And now you're like, great, I've finally gotten here, and you don't pick up the rest of the flow. And I'm like, where are you guys going? What are you guys doing? Oh, he's MIA, AKA he's in a hotel room. Not like a nice suite banging, like at a Hyatt place, like on a twin bed, like trying to get your swerve on. Ew. You can bang later. You can bang later. Pick up the mill now, okay? Pick up the mill now. That's actually chapter 7, what they don't teach you at Harvard Business School. Bang less, get ahead. Focus on your 600K. Can you tell this podcast is going to be fire? Right? And you can see how if you just keep it to a simple 20 minutes and then just put teasers. It doesn't need to tell them what you tell them what you told them. Just teasers, just sound bites, get them curious. My goal isn't to get your goal, which we will do anyway, Alexis Ohanian to tweet this. My goal is to get people to stop multitasking, put pen to paper, and then that's when the magic happens. That's the call to action. It's not pick up the phone and call some stranger, although maybe that could be me with being the easiest cold call that they'll ever make. But putting pen to paper and being like, okay, this is called Beta Business. It's Grant and Larry, and Larry told me his real cell phone number, 650-283-8008. I've written that down, so now I've actually gotten value out of it. Now let's be comfortable and play. Let's play money. Let's understand how people get stuck on zero, so that way maybe we can go to 50,000 and then we can go back to zero, because zero is a comfortable, safe place. Because it's not comfortable and it's not safe. Where it's safe is at the $50 million level. Like, that's safety. And then telling people once you get to 50 million, hey, on a date, hey, can we go Dutch on that? Which I taught and mentored Ken Howery, Luke Nosek, and Larry Chang would go Dutch in something called the Larry Chang $50 rule for dating. So once you have that money, you begin to hide it, and then you literally go Dutch. And I'm not even joking. Thoughts? Feedback? Yeah, so basically you don't date as a 50 million millionaire, okay? You stay true to you, where you just do the $50 rule. So if the public is out there going Dutch, you go Dutch. And I came up with a reciprocal model, which is a separate podcast, the $50 rule. And it's actually all over Twitter under the $50 rule. There's accounting principles of the $50 rule. There's chapter 1 is you're damned if you, the component 1, section 1, you're damned if you do the $50 rule, and you're damned if you don't do the $50 rule. And so 2 is what problems the $50 rule solves, which is you can't spend $700 on a date because that's your regular Tuesday, okay? And you can't go 50-50 on a $700 date, so you're gonna need to go Dutch on 7 tacos and 3 beers, and you go Dutch. And that solves the problem that so many people have as a problem in dating. And then you look for reciprocity, because maybe the prior date or next date you're going for a walk along Lady Bird Lake, or you're having to buy a can of tennis balls, and then you're bringing a racket for her to rent and you're playing tennis. So a can of tennis balls, and you don't get the case price. You got to go with the full retail price is like $5 at the Walgreens or at the CVS. And so all you did was spend a can of tennis balls on your date, and then you're ratcheting up. You're ratcheting up reciprocity as you go through your first 5 dates for $50, because it turns out, just like 0 to 600K, it actually doesn't take money. It just takes resourcefulness and a little bit of planning, because it literally takes no money to make money, and people just want to put venture capital money as a reason that they don't make any money. But it turns out venture capital is going to make you want to make even less money. You don't have to, because we'll just get more venture. And while that model is good for some people who just do pump and dump, you don't get to do that with your first 600K, because you need to have something that is commercially viable under 600K. And people argue all the time, like, oh, well, Zuckerberg didn't do it. Yeah, he did. Mark Benioff didn't do it. Yeah, he did. Steve Jobs didn't, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. They all did. But they all naturally hid it, because it's nowhere near the finish line. It's nowhere near a milestone, even though that's the biggest milestone that I pay attention to, and that's the podcast's milestone, because I want to hear via text message, hey, I am now 3,000, 3/600 of the way to my goal. Because think about even the word millionaire and the phraseology and the emotional ruin that it causes you, because you don't realize that all a million is 1,000 millions. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a billion. That's me. 1,000 1,000s. All it is 1,000 thousands. Like, don't let 1,000 million demoralize you from making your first million. Don't let 2,000 1,000s demoralize you, the fact that you're 2 1,000ths of the way there. Because when you're 600,000, 600 of 1,000 on the way there, you're basically a millionaire, because you're more than halfway there. And everybody else is trying to get 1 million. Exactly. But 600, you just blew right through it. You just blew right through it. You don't want to be like a 51%er, or what you were talking about, like landslide at 53, which is true, but then you're thinking like a politician, where I just barely want to eke out at 51. At 600, when you aim for 600, oops, Larry, I just went to 1.4. Ha 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 ha. Isn't that crazy? And I'm going to text back, slow your roll, sport. 1.2, is pretty good, but, keep going. Or, don't keep going. But anyway, congrats. But that's what flow is EUTWN PPM. It's do things that don't scale, bold-faced, but have momentum, which is an Alexis Ohanian, not dropped ball, but unexposed concept. And do you like how in the podcast I'll mention him, because he gets scraped on all his mentions? Do things that don't scale, Paul Graham, but have momentum. That's Alexis with his book. God, I can't remember his book. Oh, well, I'll have it at the tip of my tongue, since that's your goal. He's not my goal, but since he's your goal, I'll do some prep. It's not getting past 0. It's almost like getting past 0. I'll have it for Tuesday. All right, good stuff, kid. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's tweet, text, notes. I love it. I love it. Let's chat soon. Let's text. I love it. Take care. Sure. See you. Okay, bye.